Thanks, Bob.
I'm Bob Harren. I'm president of Beam IT Security, and I've just gone through this process myself over the last several months. I've taken my business from a sole proprietorship to LLC, and I may do it again this year, going to a corporate status. But the process is the same. So this is applicable, you know, whether you've been in business for 20, 30 years and you just want to try to get some additional funding in this, you know, times where banks aren't giving any money until the supposed money comes down to the small local banks. The key to this whole process is to build your business credit just like you do your personal credit. So it's all about setting up your business correctly so that the people that have the money, the banks, financial institutions primarily, are going to see you as legitimate, have a corporate history, have a financial history, and you pay your bills on time, and that you're a worthy credit risk. So I've just gone through this, and we look here at 7 basic steps to get this done in about a 3 to 6 month period on an accelerated rate. So the first thing you want to do is make sure, and we've heard this over the last several months when we have the different government representatives come in, they tell us, make sure you're registered with all the correct government agencies. DGS on the state side, CCR on the federal side, make sure your spellings are correct on your company names, make sure you got your address right, and I have different slides on each of these 7 steps, and we'll talk about some of the key points in each of these areas, but basically you want to make sure your company's set up correctly and you're registered in all the proper places. Then you want to start setting up credit accounts with the business credit bureaus as opposed to the personal credit bureaus. Then start establishing trade accounts. We'll talk about those. And there's different tiers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and ultimately you finish up with applying for loans, obtaining funding. We're talking funding here in excess of 100 grand, say, to meet a payroll. So the first thing is establish your corporate conformity. Properly set up your business. You want to, this is critical. You have to make sure, as we talked about, you do all of these steps. You have to do it exactly, because when the banks are looking, they're gonna run all the reports through these various business credit bureaus, and all the reports have to mesh up and sync back to your company. And the goal here is to obtain the best ratings so that you can get the most money and borrow the most for your whatever you're trying to do. As it says here in red, this is the foundation of establishing good business credit. And you want to do this in a way that it doesn't impact your personal credit. A lot of times when you're starting out, there's an overlap between if you use your social security number for a certain credit card, but you put your business name on it, that may impact your personal credit scores, because if it's linked to your personal social security number rather than your tax ID, it's going to show up as an inquiry on the big 3 personal credit bureaus. If you have too many inquiries, your credit score may drop 60, 70, 100 points. I had that happen to me just in the last year. I was going through establishing, trying to get some cash flow. I opened up a couple of additional business cards, but I used my social security number instead of my corporate tax ID, and lo and behold, my personal credit score dropped about 80 points. So now it takes me 6 or 9 months. Fortunately, I'm not going out for a mortgage right now, but if you were in that situation, you'd have to end up paying a higher interest rate. So you want to keep them separate. Don?
Well, the point is, a lot of times they won't let you do a business card without a personal guarantee with your social security number on your business card account.
So
And
that's-
it's simply not an option.
That's what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Next step, or before we get into that's establishing the different trade accounts. But before we talk about doing the trade accounts, before you go out and try to get your first credit card for your business, and I didn't plant that, I didn't give Don that question to ask in advance, but I've made that same mistake. Before you go out and get your first business credit or a line of credit or corporate credit card for your business, you want to make sure all of these things are done properly. You want to make sure you have a business tax ID with IRS, ownership, whatever it is all tight. You want to make sure you got solid business address verification. How do you do that? You go out and you register on a 411 service, a telephone, yellow pages, those kinds of things. You want to make sure when you register with the state and federal government, you have the right to SIC and NAICS codes, and those match to what's up on Dun & Bradstreet, which is coming up next. They're going to want to know whether or not you have improper licensing for your business. Some businesses require just a county license. If you're in construction, you might need a state or additional other kinds of things. As Ken mentioned before, a lot of times your business license in one state will make it easier to get an appropriate license in a corresponding state. Your bank accounts need to be tied back to your corporate tax ID rather than your personal social security number. And lastly, they want to know that you're a professional entity and that you do have a website and an email that's also tied in with the same domain name. So in my case, my company is beam-itsec.com. That's what my emails are, bob@beam-itsec.com. You don't want to have a Gmail account or a Yahoo account or a Hotmail account or an MSN account with your company name at Gmail. That's not what, you could get away with it, but you're going to look a lot more professional if your company name, your website, and your email all match. And you can get a website
For free.
for free or $10 a month for 4 or 5 pages. And if you want to ask me about that after the meeting's over, I'll give you a business card and I'll give you some options. Same thing for your email. Very easy to set up these days and very cheap or free. So, in establishing the first step, you want to make sure you're registered with there's basically five business credit bureaus. The most important one, in my opinion, is Dun & Bradstreet. You want to do that first because that's required to register on CCR, Central Contracts Registration with the federal government. Once you get past CCR, you want to do the next two, Experian and Equifax, but on the business side, not the personal side. Okay? And as you're going through this process, you need to keep a little bit of patience. As you do the registration, it might take a week or 10 days to get your result to the next step. Once you get that confirmation, then you go to the next step. And the next step after registering with the corporate credit bureaus is doing what Don just asked. You establish your first corporate trade accounts. And there are some, quite a few actually, institutions that will give you a business credit line on your company ID rather than your Social Security. So it doesn't, and you're looking to establish on these Tier 1 trade accounts small credit limits, $500, $1,000. You can do that, with your hotel chains. Holiday Inn is one of the ones I use. Marriott is another one I use. Airlines, pick an airline to fly. I'd use American and United. I got their credit cards in my business name with my business tax ID. I'm not